The worst part is, I still have to drive that route sometimes. Highway 20. It cuts through the Oregon high desert like a scar, a long, lonely stretch of asphalt that feels 1,000 miles from anywhere. I don't stop anymore. Not for anything. Not after that night. It was late October, the kind of night where the cold has teeth. I was 33, a pharmaceutical sales rep, and my day had been a total bust. A 12-hour marathon of forced smiles and firm handshakes that ended with a key client in Bend telling me they were going with a competitor. The drive back to Boise was my punishment, a 4-hour slog through the dark. I was exhausted, running on stale coffee and disappointment. My tie was loosened, my brain was numb, and all I wanted was my own bed. My car, a reliable if uninspired sedan, had other plans. Around 9:40 p.m., somewhere deep in the empty space between Burns and Vail, the engine sputtered. It coughed once, twice like a dying man, and then just gave up. The dashboard lights flickered and died. The silence that followed was absolute, a heavy blanket smothering the world. I coasted to the shoulder, the gravel crunching under the tires, and the car rolled to a final dead stop. I tried the ignition. Nothing. Not even a click. I pulled out my phone. No signal, of course. Out here, the sky is so vast and black it feels like you could fall right into it. The stars are brilliant, cold, and utterly indifferent. I was a tiny, insignificant speck in a metal box, completely and totally alone. For 20 minutes, I just sat there, a knot of frustration and anxiety tightening in my gut. Every gust of wind sounded like footsteps. Every shadow seemed to move. Then a glimmer in my rearview mirror. 2 pinpricks of light, growing steadily larger. Headlights. My heart leapt with a surge of pure, unadulterated relief. The vehicle slowed, its high beams dipping as it pulled in behind me. The familiar, comforting shape of a state patrol SUV. Red and blue lights flashed once, twice, then settled into a steady, official glow. A uniformed officer stepped out, his silhouette sharp against the bright lights. He was tall, broad-shouldered, the epitome of authority. He walked up to my window, his footsteps measured on the gravel. I rolled it down, the cold air rushing in. "Trouble tonight?" he asked. His voice was calm, deep. "Yeah," I said, the word coming out as a breath of fog. "Car just died on me. No warning, nothing." He nodded slowly, his eyes scanning the dark highway behind us. "Been some increased activity on this highway lately," he said, his tone serious. "Stranded motorists, thefts, worse." He looked back at me. "Can't leave you out here. The next station's about 30 miles up the road. I can give you a ride, a courtesy stop. We can call a tow truck from there." A courtesy stop. It sounded so helpful, so official. A tiny flicker of unease went through me, the primal, irrational fear of getting into a stranger's car, but I crushed it. This wasn't a stranger. This was a state trooper. This was rescue. "Yeah," I said, my voice filled with gratitude. "Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you, officer." "Name's Trooper Ireland." He extended a gloved hand. I shook it. His grip was firm, cold. "Grab what you need. We'll get you sorted." I grabbed my briefcase and my phone and locked my dead car, a pointless but ingrained gesture. The patrol SUV was warm inside, a stark contrast to the biting cold. The doors shut with a heavy, solid thud. "Buckle up," Trooper Harlan said, and I did. He pulled smoothly back onto the highway, and we drove into the oppressive darkness. For the first few minutes, I just basked in the relief. I was safe. I was warm. I was no longer stranded. But as the miles began to tick by, a strange quiet settled in the cab. It wasn't a comfortable silence. It was empty. I realized I couldn't hear a police radio. No static, no dispatch calls, no chatter. Just the low hum of the engine and the tires on the pavement. I glanced at the dashboard. Where the dash cam should have been mounted, there was just an empty plastic bracket. Odd. "So," Trooper Harlan began, his voice breaking the silence, "just need to get some information from you for the incident report." "Of course," I said. "Full name: Marcus Doyle. Age: 33. Occupation: pharmaceutical sales." The questions were standard, but his delivery was flat, rehearsed. He asked where I was coming from, where I was going, and then the questions started to drift. "Married, Marcus?" No. Divorced." "Kids?" "No." "Parents still around?" I shifted in my seat. "My mother is." "Why do you need to know that for an incident report?" "Just thorough, that's all," he said, his eyes fixed on the road. "Protocol." I looked out the passenger window, trying to shake off a growing sense of unease. The desert landscape was a monotonous blur of sagebrush and darkness. But then I saw it. A fence post, bent at a peculiar 45-degree angle, its top splintered. I remembered noticing it right before my car died. Strange. Maybe there was more than one like it. 5 minutes later, I saw it again. The exact same bent, splintered fence post. My blood ran cold. No, I was just tired. My mind was playing tricks on me. I focused on the mile markers, the little green signs that were my only measure of progress. 313, 312, 311. Wait. They were going backward. My heart started to pound against my ribs. We were driving forward, but the mile markers were counting down. I discreetly pulled out my phone, shielding the screen with my hand. The little blue dot of the GPS was blinking. It showed my location, clear as day. I was still on the shoulder of Highway 20, right where my car had broken down. We hadn't moved an inch. I glanced at the time, 9:58 p.m. It had been 9:58 p.m. for at least the last 10 minutes. "How far to the station?" I asked, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. "We're almost there," Trooper Harlan replied, his voice a perfect, uninflected monotone. He didn't look at me. He just kept staring straight ahead at the looping, projected road. My mind was screaming. This wasn't real. The car wasn't moving. The scenery was a lie. The gentle vibration I felt wasn't the road. It was something else. A low, deep hum that seemed to come from the vehicle itself. This wasn't a patrol car. It was a box. A trap. "You shouldn't have stopped alone," he said suddenly, his voice dropping a little. "Not tonight." The facade of normalcy shattered completely. This wasn't a warning. It was a statement of fact. A pronouncement. "What is this?" I demanded, my voice tight with panic. "What's going on? Where are you taking me?" "You're safe here," he said, and the word safe never sounded so terrifying. "Just confirm your full name one more time." "No," I said, my hand instinctively going for the door handle. "I'm not telling you anything else. Stop the car. Let me out." I pulled the handle. It didn't budge. Locked. Of course it was locked. I lunged for the button, but it was dead. The windows, the locks, nothing worked. "It's protocol?" "This isn't protocol. This is something else. You're not a cop." He finally turned his head and looked at me. His eyes were dark, empty, like holes drilled into a mannequin's face. There was nothing behind them, no emotion, no life, just a placid, terrifying void. "You already accepted the courtesy stop," he said. The words hit me like a physical blow. It wasn't an offer. It was a contract, a verbal agreement I had blindly walked into. This wasn't a rescue. It was an intake, a processing. I was being collected. Full name, the thing in the driver's seat insisted, its voice losing its human timbre, becoming a flat, synthesized demand. For the report. I threw myself against the door, pounding on the window, screaming into the fake silent night. But it was like being in a vacuum. The space felt wrong, the air thick and heavy pressing in on me. My movements felt sluggish, my shouts swallowed by the humming silence. The thing beside me didn't move. It just watched, its head tilted slightly, waiting patiently for my compliance. I felt a strange, tingling sensation, a feeling of being scanned, my entire existence being cataloged, recorded. My memories, my fears, my identity, all of it being copied, downloaded. I was being erased. And as the darkness behind its eyes seemed to expand, to pull me in, the last thing I heard was its voice repeating its calm, horrific request. I woke up with a gasp, my body jerking forward. I was in my car, in the driver's seat. My forehead was resting on the steering wheel, and a line of drool was cooling on my chin. Gray pre-dawn light filtered through the windshield. My neck was stiff, my body ached, and I was freezing. I had no idea how long I'd been there. The last thing I remembered was breaking down, the anxiety, the waiting. The rest was a black hole, a missing chunk of time. I must have fallen asleep, had some kind of vivid, terrifying nightmare. Shaking, I turned the key in the ignition. The engine roared to life on the first try. I didn't question it. I just put the car in drive and got the hell out of there, my tires spitting gravel as I pulled back onto the empty highway. The drive back was a blur. I couldn't shake the feeling of the nightmare, the lingering dread that clung to me like a shroud. It was 2 days later, back in the sterile safety of my apartment, that I finally thought to check my dash cam. I almost didn't. I wanted to forget the whole thing, but some morbid curiosity, some need to confirm that it was all just a dream, made me plug the memory card into my laptop. The file from that night was there. I clicked play. The footage began with me driving, the road illuminated by my headlights. Then, the sputtering, the car dying. The screen went black as the power cut out, but the camera had its own small battery. It kept recording audio. I heard myself muttering, cursing my luck. I heard the wind. Then I heard the sound of my own car door opening. I heard my footsteps on the gravel. And then I heard my own voice. Yeah. My voice said from the speaker, "Car just died on me." A pause. Marcus Doyle. Another pause. 33. I watched, my blood turning to ice in my veins. The camera was pointed at the empty passenger seat, but the audio was a one-sided conversation. For 12 straight minutes, the recording captured me standing on the side of that dark, empty highway, answering questions. My voice was clear, responding to prompts that weren't there, talking to a person who didn't exist. There was no patrol car, no Trooper Harlan, just me, alone in the dark, giving away pieces of myself to the empty air. That's when I finally understood. The courtesy stop isn't a rescue. It's replication. It's a harvest. I don't know what that thing was or what it wanted with my information, but it has me now. My name, my age, my life. It's all on file somewhere. A copy of Marcus Doyle, logged in a report for an incident that never officially happened. I still drive that route sometimes. My job demands it. But I fill up my tank before I go. I check my tires. I pray to a God I don't believe in that my car won't fail me. Because I know they're out there, waiting in the dark, waiting for the next set of headlights to falter, waiting to offer their own special brand of courtesy. And I just don't stop anymore.